I got it. I lost it. I got it. Human and divine, one love. I lost it. That did that again. I lost it. I got it. I lost it. This is the dance of the human spiritual condition. And when we have a deeper understanding of who we are in the midst of it, a deeper understanding, a deeper practice, a deeper revelation of the truth of who we truly are, well, we have a greater experience of our spiritual magnificence. It's a healing in our personal lives, and we're a blessing to the world. So do you want that? Yes, thank you. So do I. Yes. And so this is a dance in the flow of giving and receiving that is such a beautiful journey we've been on in this month, the flow of coming and going. Reverend Karen Einhaus opened us up with that beautiful invitation that if we're in acceptance, that when we accept, we get into the present moment, resistance falls away, we start to remember who we are. And then Reverend Leslie Goodwin did a beautiful piece around coming to stillness and listening to the still small voice, and that too invites us to remember who we are. And one of the things that was great is that Reverend Leslie really honed in on the fact that it's natural and common for us to have that dynamic. I'm in meditation, I'm anchored in on my breath, and then all of a sudden, a distraction. And then I notice the distraction and I come on back. I notice I've fallen away and I come on back. That is the practice. So that metaphor, you'll see it in so much of the spiritual journey. I fall asleep and I wake. I was lost and now I'm found. I was trapped and now I'm free. That journey is natural. So I want everyone to just kind of get that it's not that when we have a spiritual realization, we will cease to forget. It's that when we remember, we continue to evolve. And so there's three things to think about in who we are. One of them is this idea that we are our human history and our spiritual reality. So we are our human resume and our characteristics and the stuff we did or didn't do and our identification, our human history and a spiritual reality. We are also the drop in the ocean. And so we've got all the qualities that the ocean has. So if we're one with the divine, it means that we're one with eternality and creativity and abundance and the timeless nature of God. We are also our doing and our being. So we are the activities and actions of our accomplishments and our resume, and we are the no thing. We are the vibration, the essence. We are the being as well. And we are the known and we are the unknown. So we are all the things that we can know about, the languages that we already speak, the things that seem familiar to us, the things that we consider spiritual. And we are one with that which is beyond what we know, with the vast expanse of things that are beyond our own experience. Knowing who we are, it's one of the delicious things that we share. We share knowing who we are, and we also share the discovery. So I'm going to invite you to hear a little story about a beloved friend and see if you can relate. And so we have a slide. This little gal, her name is Summer, and she is a character from a movie called School of Rock with Jack Black. So does anybody remember this movie? Okay, good. We got it. All right, so this is your classic Jack Black kind of movie. Summer she's one of the kids at this prim, proper school, and Jack Black is a rapscallion guy who, for some reason, becomes a substitute teacher in this school, and he's bringing his rock and roll nature to it. And when he meets the students, well, who's in the front row? If the teacher asks a question, who's got their hand up right away? Who's really proud of her attendance? And who's really excited, little Summer is, about the chart that's in front of her that has the gold stars that go across it. The gold stars for homework and attendance and being a good girl. So who's got two thumbs and recognizes this young lady? Let me just say, right? It's like, I totally get it, the gold stars. But what happens in this movie is Jack Black, the rapscallion, one of the very first things he does, he says to the kids, we're not going to learn history or algebra or any of that stuff. We're going to become a rock band. And he goes over to the wall and he crumples the chart with the gold stars on it. And Summer is just completely disrupted. But as, of course the story would have it, it ends up being a really good and exciting thing. Jack Black tells the kids, we're going to start a band. And he says to little Summer, you're going to be a groupie. And she comes back the next day and she says, I went on the internet. This was 20 years ago. Those groupies, they're tramps. I'm going to be the manager. So she decides she's going to be the manager of the band, and then the story goes on, and all the different kids become musicians, and they win at regionals or something like that. And she has a transformation. So who she thought she would be with all those gold stars becomes something new. So that's what I want to ask all of us. What are the gold stars of identity that you've got up on the chart? So probably, for many of us, there are the things of our accomplishments or our identification, our demographics, the things we've been through. But those stars, we're proud of them. They're important to us. But I also want to suggest that if we think of ourselves as just the human accomplishments, we will be thinking amiss. Because for me, if I really think about it, those gold stars had a dark side. So why was I, working so hard in school to be such a good girl? Well, there was violence and alcoholism at home. And school was a place of refuge. And then living kind of with that gold star thing, by the time I was 14, I needed a vodka tonic and a Virginia Slim. It's like I had to get some relief. And so that started me on a path of I had gold stars, but I had black marks too. And so my whole human story was a little bit more tortured there, right? Good girl by day, bad girl by night. And for me, what had to break that identification with my human identity was my own discovery of sobriety, spirituality, discovering this beautiful teaching of the science of mind. But that's what I want to ask you, is what is it in your human identification that has both the positives of accomplishment and strength and character, but also might have a shadow with it too, because it's an incomplete story. And that for us is really a beautiful opportunity. So I think about identity not as something to divide us. It's ironic, it's a paradox, and wherever there's a paradox, there is the divine. It's a paradox. We have a value in our teaching of inclusivity, and that means that we celebrate the unique expressions of individuals, whether it's gender or race or other kinds of expressions or ethnicity or experience. We celebrate the distinction of the way that the divine shows up. And we also know that those characteristics, they're not the complete story. I think about Edwene Gaines, who's a minister in the Unity movement, and she says, I am a woman of power because I was abused as a child and I experienced the misuse of power. And to me, that's a beautiful way to say, I take what in my human experience happened and I understand it for a spiritual experience. And it's ironic, isn't it, that our discovery of, the depth of our spirituality often comes through silence. And I think about many of our spiritual practices are things for the ego and the body and the mind to play with just so that we can find a moment of silence. And we have an Ernest Holmes quote here that's quite beautiful about this. Dr. Holmes says, "Silence, when the objective tumult is temporarily stilled, we rise in our consciousness to that place of pure causation, which is spirit." So the tumult, the need for the gold stars or the black marks gets stilled. We rise in our consciousness and our awareness into a place of cause. Consciousness, the sum total of our patterns of thinking, our spiritual awareness, bless you, consciousness is cause. Everything in our experience has an invisible cause to a visible manifestation. And when it comes to identity, we take from the spiritual reality acted upon by law into expression. One of the most powerful tools in our teaching is spiritual mind treatment. That's our form of affirmative prayer. The power of our spiritual mind treatment is that we deliberately and consciously align with spiritual good and allow it to be expressed through, in, and as us. And in the recognition and unification stages of treatment, we are deliberately aligning with what is spiritually true. So every prayer request usually comes in the form of either some kind of problem. There's a diagnosis, boss is a jerk, something's happening, there's a war and challenges in our society. Or sometimes a prayer request comes in saying, I want to celebrate there's harmony in my workplace or wholeness in the body, or I've had a breakthrough about contribution in the world. But there's always a call in a prayer request that is a call for a spiritual quality of being, not to answer or fight with the problem on a human dimension. Because it's tempting, isn't it, to say, if I've got a diagnosis, well, I'm going to investigate natural causes and some allopathic. Or if I've got a thing with my boss, I'm going to, set a boundary, or I'm going to, work harder or not work hard, like to sort of work it on a human level. Or, and I'm so glad that we're really facing directly, if there's things happening in the political world, you think I want to go to a protest or write a letter or do a thing. And all of those actions are wonderful to take action on, and they will be more effective when they are guided from a spiritual consciousness. And so that's why in our recognition and unification, the beginning of a prayer, we say, what is the quality of God, of the divine, that we want to experience? Wholeness, harmony, freedom, justice. And then in unification, and this is why it's relevant to this talk about identity, we're not asking a God in the sky to give us a thing. We're remembering that the essence of who we are is our oneness with the thing itself. So wholeness is not an answer to my problem. Wholeness is the reality of who I am. Recognition and unification is one of the most powerful identity tools that we have. And then you can see how that ties us into this place of, don't just do something, sit there. Like there's kind of a thing in our movement which is like all we do is we just sit and pray and know the truth. And yet that's not complete. We also say we treat and we move our feet. So we must be the thing, and then we are guided into the doing in the world, because the body of effects, the things we do in the world, are part of who our spiritual expression is. So this thing of doing and being, I feel like much of the answer is we are both. We are both. We let go of thinking we are just about what we do, and we understand we're both. And so today we have our affirmation, and we have it in Espanol, in inglés. So we've got the affirmation. I'll do the Spanish one first. I was practicing. So, dejo mi identificación con el hace solamente y me permito ser. And so in English it's, gracias. Oh, gracias, okay. Didn't Bernice do beautifully earlier? Yeah, she really did. In English, I let go of my identification with only doing and allow myself to be. So let's try it on together in English. I let go. Thank you. See how that lands. Who are you? Who are you without the purely just being the gold stars and the black marks? Who are you if you're not just the sum total of the things that you do? It feels to me like when that full realization comes that I am these qualities that I desire, I am taking them into my activities, then I am guided in the moments of what to be and do. And that is, for this workshop, this Politics, Prayers, Peace, and Action, yes, we're going to talk about topics that are in our political and civic world. So whether it's immigration or environment or democracy or healthcare or education, we're going to talk about issues. And yes, we are going to work with how can you be an advocate doing this and how can you do service doing that. But we only do those things when we're established in a quality of the divine that we want to express. So for me personally, I've taken a very strong stand. I'm super active politically, but I'm only active in places where I can know the power of the divine flows through me as empowerment. So I only do things, and I choose them where I'm going to be helping someone else to feel empowered and free. So it clarifies. And that really, in many ways, in every area of our lives, whether you're mostly focused on a personal realization of the divine or wholeness in the body or harmony in a family or love or prosperity, whatever your personal or collective focus is, pulling it all together is very powerful. And the final piece about our identity is this idea of the known and the unknown. I heard someone say recently, if you think about this wide expanse, what we know is like a tiny dot. And what we do not know is this infinite void. So I love who you and I are as we know each other. And one of the most powerful things is to realize at any age, happy birthday, Beth, at any stage of our lives, in any condition, there is always more of the divine to be revealed. So there's so much about each and every one of us that we don't know. Thank goodness. There's so much about solutions to, let's face it, that for many people you would look at the world and say it's a hot mess. You know, what are we going to do about this and that? Well, there are solutions that are things that are unprecedented because there's an infinite mind that has new and unlimited ideas. So what stance can I take about the humility of knowing myself as the divine, but not forgetting that there's more to be known? So I brought a beautiful quote from Eckhart Tolle, Power of Now, Stillness Speaks. And he says, when you no longer argue with what is, compulsive thinking wanes and is replaced by an alert stillness. Remember, Reverend Leslie said we notice when we've gotten distracted. And I would say, who and what is doing the noticing? Who is the noticer? That alert stillness, that noticing, that pure awareness, essentially, that's what we are. And so, many of us are active in living our spiritual teaching in the world, whether it's service or community or companionship or our professional lives or our art. There's so many ways that we are living our spiritual teaching in the world. And I am inviting you now to always remember when you forget, because we do, that who you and I essentially are is this invisible, eternal, etheric reality. And that is what we take into the world. So yes, my precious, beautiful, powerful beings. It's like, I know who you are, and I don't know. We know who we are, and we don't know. Let us have this continued discovery of the magnificence of who we are, human and spiritual, doing and being, known and unknown. Because when we deepen into this exploration with an open heart, magnificent things happen. Peace and blessings. And so let us pray. Let us do a spiritual mind treatment together. How grateful I am to recognize that the infinite presence of God is all identity and all reality. This creative source of supply and love, of power and truth and wholeness. It is the one life, one thing going on, and each of us is an expression of it. I give such a sense of surrender to this awareness, our unification with the good, the truth, the wholeness, the reality. And that is the foundation from which I speak a word this day. I claim that for each and every individual who hears the vibration of this prayer in whatever language, in whatever form, in whatever time and space, that this vibration is a vibration of yes. It is a vibration of a yes to the truth of the divine, love and peace and freedom and wholeness and right action and abundance and grace and power and joy being revealed in our personal and collective lives so that we dissolve fear, doubt, worry, smallness, resistance, and we stand, live, express in the truth. And so I give great thanks for knowing that the truth of the divine is revealed. I'm grateful for the law that says yes. And I release. I release the prayer into the unknown, surrendering the expression that is the answer to this prayer into the one. We let go, we let God, and together we say, and so it is.